Minecraft recently released a brand new cushion block, and with that update, I have made a ton of buildings and a ton of building tips and tricks. Honestly, I've just been cooking, because this brand new block is absolutely incredible. That's why I tried to come up with as many building tips and tricks as I could. And I think I succeeded because I do have a decently sized chunk of building ideas that I have to go through. Now, first of all, my favorite idea thus far is using cushions as baseboards, because look at this. This looks so awesome. Of course, there are some weird misbehaving pixels, but if you look from further back, it doesn't look too bad. And even though these are entities, Mojang have made sure to make these as least laggy as possible, and I think they actually managed to do that. Now, to build yourself one of these baseboards, it's actually pretty simple. You get some snow, and you place down 2 snow layers, you place down a cushion, you break the snow beneath it, and add a stair on top. That is how simple this building trick is. And you can expand it to however much you want. So in this case, I'm going to expand it by 4 blocks. You have to make sure to do this quickly, because if you do it too slow, these cushions will just break. At least the top one will. Like that, it just broke. My previous build tip was using pale oak shelves as baseboards, but you can't really have a corner because you can only place one shelf on one side, so you would have a corner like this, which is why that didn't work. And when I released my video, I actually didn't even think about that. But with these cushions, you can actually place as many as you want, and you can even have corners. How awesome is that? Genuinely one of my favorite updates. Then you would just place a couple blocks like so to have a wall, and you can have a really nice baseboard. I love this update so much. It's incredible. Now, as an example, I've gone ahead and made 3 walls with all of these baseboards. So this one uses a gray cushion and these 2 use white cushions. And again, it's just the same trick that I used with stairs. Using the same technique though, you can also get baseboards for the ceiling. So some older buildings, they have some baseboards going across the ceiling. At least the fancy ones do. And you can replicate that in Minecraft using the new cushion blocks and placing blocks up here on the ceiling. Again, using the same mechanic, exact same mechanic, but just doing it on top of these stairs instead of the bottom, you get amazing baseboards. Honestly, just for that, I love this update. Now, moving on, using some more shelves, using some shelf mushrooms and a cushion, we could have a super simple looking shelf. It is 1 pixel too low to actually have items that aren't floating. That's why these items are floating by 1 pixel. But I really hope Mojang will move these mushrooms at least 1 pixel higher, because that way we can actually have shelves. And from down here, they do look somewhat connected. They don't look like they're floating, except the spot. The spot does look somewhat floaty, but I don't think that's that big of an issue. I've seen these cushions be used as flags, and I thought, why not make myself a finished flag? When I started working on this, I remembered what I did for the baseboards up here on the ceiling. So I used the same technique, but instead with 1 cushion. Let me get some snow layers. That should be high enough. So I would have to do this, and you can get a super simple looking finish line. And now you would have to do the same thing again, but you would have to place the stair on the other side. And with that, you could get a super simple finish line, which does look awesome. Now, of course, using the new cushions, you can make all sorts of furniture. That's why I'm not gonna try to go in depth about how I made every single furniture and every single chair, because that's just obvious. You take a wall slab or like any slab or stair and you place a cushion and you have yourself a bit of furniture. That's why I'm not gonna go over them in detail, but I really wanted to point out this table with a black handle underneath. You can have a little coffee table, a super simple coffee table, and you can even exchange that black handle for a white one and have a sleek modern looking table. Again, another item that most people have probably made is these pillars with red cushions on top that show off cool items that you have gathered. So in this case, I added some candles. These could be some sort of gemstones maybe, and these could be like gold coins. Now I also added a copper golem, a conduit, and an amethyst crystal, and to build it, you simply just take a red cushion, place a block, and place the red cushion below it. That's how simple it is. And you could build a small little museum with all of these cushions. I think that's very nifty and very nice. When trying to create more of these, I figured something out. So I took a cushion and I placed a hopper. When I started placing the cushion, I saw that it goes in different layers, and you can choose how high you want the cushion to be. So I tried out the same technique, but with a cauldron this time. So I placed the cauldron, did the same thing, and I realized that you could use cauldrons to set different layers, different levels of cushion. That's what I used on most of these upcoming cushion ideas, and I fell in love. This is where I fell in love with the cushions even more. Now, the first thing that came to mind was, of course, a cauldron with some light blue, with a light blue cushion for some water. Placing a cauldron and placing a cushion inside, you can get some water, and I thought, why not make a countertop? So I took a white cushion and tried to line it up as close to the top as I could, like this, and I placed a beehive on top to get this black, sleek countertop. And you can actually place items on top of it, which is so cool, because previously we would have had to use carpets, but as you know, because a carpet is a block, you can't really place any item on top of it. But now you could have amazing countertops and actually place blocks on it, which I thought was absolutely amazing. There was a time when we were jealous of Bedrock because they had cauldrons that can hold any type of potion, but now we can actually use cushions to make a witch's cauldron with any potion we have in mind. So in this case, I used a red cushion and a magenta cushion for these potion-filled cauldrons that you could typically see in a witch hut. And I thought that it looks absolutely amazing, and it just adds a ton of life to any witch's hut. Now, after realizing that I can move all of these cushions up and down, I recreated those pillars over there with the items on top and cushions, but I moved these cushions down just so you could see more of the block, and I think it turned out even better than the first tip that I showed off over there. Because, again, you can use the cauldron, select a layer, just place it on a wall to actually line it up, because you cannot place anything on top of this cushion, which is slightly annoying, but there's not really much you could do. Now, this is a funky one. My friend showed me that you could place a cushion on this lip on the shelf, and I thought that looks like a tongue. So I made this dirty snake. I don't know where you would use this, but I thought it was funny and I really wanted to share this. It's just some stupid fun. You could also extend the tongue like this if you wanted to, but it's not necessary. It's good. It looks very cool with one cushion like this. Either way, I think it's awesome. A much more practical and interesting one is these mushrooms. So because you can place these cushions on top of any block and have them at any layer, I decided to build a couple of these mushrooms. So these short mushrooms, these short stubby mushrooms, they are placed on pressure plates. These taller ones are placed on end rods, and these bottom ones are placed on mushrooms. Although I did use the cauldron to have them placed lower, so you don't see a ton of that red bit, so it's not that floaty. It is slightly lower to where you can see the stem, but you can't really see the red of the mushroom. This also works with brown mushrooms. If you change the cushion to a brown one and these mushrooms to brown mushrooms instead. In this area, I decided I would make a sleek modern shelf. You couldn't usually have this shelf beforehand in Minecraft because you can't really place two different types of blocks like so, but I thought, why not try? So what I did, I got myself a snow block, a snow layer block. I built it up by 4 layers, like so. I placed cushions in each of them, and you have to make sure to be ready to place a trapdoor. That's why I like to place trapdoors like this, so I can just quickly click on them later on when I break the snow. Now that we have this set up, you can take a string, first of all, break this snow that's supporting this cushion, and place a string over here to make sure that none of these cushions break. And then I can break this, place a... Okay, I wasn't quick enough. I can break this block, place a trapdoor, that way it doesn't break. Do the same on this side. And now I've realized that these trapdoors are facing the wrong way, so I'm just going to replace them really quickly. It is sometimes slightly finicky, but you can get the hang of it very easily. And I just placed 2 cushions below like so, and just fill in the top with the remaining trapdoors. And just like that, you can get a very nice modern shelf. Now, when playing around these cushions, I thought, why not place a grindstone and place a cushion on top of it to see what it looks like, because frankly, I was interested. Now, when I did that, this is what it looked like, and in my opinion, this looks a lot like a motorcycle wheel. So that's why I built one of these small motorcycles. It does look like one of those scooters, but I used the grindstone upside down with a cushion on top, and a sign will slap on top of that, a string with a cushion on top of it for the bottom bit of the motorcycle, and a sign will stare with a gray cushion on top of it, so you can actually ride the motorcycle. Honestly, I am super proud of this. One of my best motorcycle builds ever, and now with the new cushions and the new colored slabs, it's easier than ever to make vehicles. This one, you really have to squint your eyes to see, but I placed a cushion and a honey block on top of that and another cushion on top to get this super nifty simple lava lamp. And if you place a glowing block like I did here with the orca frog light, you can actually get this lava lamp to glow. So if I set the time to night, you can see that this lava lamp actually glows, and I think that's really awesome. Unfortunately, you have to really squint your eyes to see this as a lava lamp, but I still believe that it does look really cool. Let's move on to the obvious part: cushions on top of end rods, fences, pale oak stairs to get the chairs and couches and basically everything we want. But instead of placing cushions on top like this to get a tall looking chair, I used the cauldron strategy again to line up these slightly lower, so I could get perfectly sizable chairs that don't look way out of proportion. I also did the same on this stair, because if you place it down like so, the cushion looks very big, and I thought that doesn't look like a chair or a couch that I've seen. So I used the strategy, the cauldron strategy, again, to have this smaller chair, not smaller, to have this chair with a smaller cushion, which still works, and I think it does look even more natural than having a cushion like this. Because right now, I am very high on the chair. Now, I can finally talk about my favorite chair design ever. These small chairs with daylight detectors look absolutely amazing. I feel like I would see these chairs in Create mod. I feel like they look so cool and so clean. I can just imagine these chairs being placed inside of trains or any fancy lobby area, because look at them, they look very nice. They do look slightly old-fashioned, but they do look very fancy. Now I saved the best for last, because you can use cushions for a super simple merry-go-round. It doesn't work, but on this scale, a merry-go-round where you can sit looks absolutely amazing. I've also moved these up and down using the cauldron strategy once more to make them look like they're going up and down whilst they're going around in a circle. I do believe that this is probably one of my favorite designs using these cushions. I definitely can see this being placed in a carnival area or even a mall. I absolutely adore this idea, and I think that it looks very fancy and very nice. So yeah, those were all my tips that I've managed to figure out in the last day or so, but I will definitely be working more with these cushions because frankly, they're so cool and so useful in any build.